Last night, we showed you how the 20-year anniversary of Rodney King's beating is being portrayed. I want you to try to wrap your mind around what is happening now. People want to recreate 1968, and it sounds all kind of catchy and fun, but let's remember what they're referring to. These are the Watts riots from 1965. Pretty nasty. In a span of just a few days, there were 34 people that were dead, over 1,000 injured, nearly 4,000 arrested, and $40 million in property damage in 1965. It was a horrific, deadly riot, and it actually served, believe it or not, as inspiration for Frances Fox Piven. She wants more of this now. Then you go to 1968, what they're trying to recreate. This is Chicago, 68, the Democratic National Convention. It was held a year after nasty civil unrest, riots happening in more than 100 cities. The convention was held in Chicago and ended up being mostly remembered for the protest and the confrontation and the violence between the protesters and the Chicago police. And the protests were led by radical leftists, most notably the Students for a Democratic Society, who chanted, "The whole world is watching." Have you heard that before? Heard that since? It's Occupy Wall Street now. And then years later, there's the Rodney King riots. These were widespread in looting, assaults, arson, murder. 53 people died. Thousands were injured. Why? Revenge. Property damage over $1 billion. Now, the leftists of 1968 and the Occupy Wall Street movement really are literally some of the same people. The Watts riots and the King's riots 20 years ago are Cloward and Piven and the Weather Underground. I want you to remember the Weather Underground manifesto we showed you when we were on Fox. Here's the quote: "The real interest of the masses of the oppressed whites in this country lie with the black liberation struggle." Why, that sounds a little like President Obama's former pastor. "And the conditions for understanding and fighting for these interests grow with the deepening of the crisis." You have told your friends over and over again that tough times are coming. But I am not really sure that the average person fully even grasps what we're warning about here. This is going to be the trial of our generation. It comes every generation or so. It comes. World War II. This is ours. What's coming has little to do with paying a little or even a lot more at the pump. It has very little to do with unemployment getting much worse. When I tell you that tough times are coming, I'm telling you that without divine providence, there is going to be blood and chaos in the streets. And even with divine providence, I fear that will only be lessened, because people are actively trying to recreate 68. There were riots in over 100 cities that year. That year, MLK was assassinated. Since that time, leftist radicals have been trying to replicate it. It's the only chance they believe they have to achieve the change that they want. Back in 1968, America would not buy it. They didn't want any of this. Because can you imagine these scenes in 100 cities? Can you imagine the Rodney King riots like this, taking people out of their cars and you seeing this? Can you imagine that in your town? Not Los Angeles, your town. How about if it was happening in, just 3 major cities, dragging people out of their cars and killing them in the streets? I hope to God not, but I think we're about to find out what it feels like. May 1st is what they are dubbing as the start of the American spring. We predicted this last year when we were called nuts. Now, it could start out huge on May 1st, or it could start out with a whimper like it did last fall. I don't know. But what I do know is it's going to end with a bang. 2 other elements I want you to watch for this spring. 1, the disruption of business. It's beginning to happen now. Protesters are coming after Jeffrey Immelt and GE. Members of the 99 interrupted GE's CEO at his speech before the SAE World Congress. Protesters clashed with police. At least 20 of them were booted from the building. Some tried to force their way into the building and had to be forcibly blocked, while others chose to take part in a symbolic game of tax dodgeball at the shareholder meeting. Today it was more of the same. About 100 protesters interrupted the meeting, and once again they were forcibly removed. They did the same thing yesterday at Wells Fargo. It's begun. We know that these people are vile and despicable. They've already dumped human waste in bank lobbies. That's what this guy's doing here. They've shown up at the homes of Wall Street executives and scared the pants off of children inside. Occupy protesters in Oakland smashed windows of businesses a while back, and in New York City they've damaged several businesses. They harassed the owners all around Zuccotti Park last fall, and now the Black Bloc is starting to disrupt and destroy. But the destruction and disruption of business, believe it or not, is the tame part. The most disturbing part of what happened in 1968, to me, is man's love for man waxing cold. That's an important phrase. Man's love for man waxes cold. Lately, I've been thinking, and I've been trying to figure out what stopped the 1960s from happening. What stopped these radicals? I mean, they had the culture, they had the music, they had the peace-loving hippie crap. They had the White House with Johnson. MLK was successful. And then they had the shootings of these people that should have made them even more powerful, but it didn't. What happened? Keith, a guy who works for me, wrote to me at 4 o'clock this morning, and he said, "Glenn, I think I found the answer you've been looking for. I've got all my researchers trying to track this one down." He said, "I found it in Larry Schweikart's book." He said, "I think it was the Manson family, Altamont and Charles Manson." Let me recap briefly. Altamont was a free concert similar to Woodstock, happened the next fall, but it was really seen as the official end of the hippie era because it was out of control. Violence. It was a day that ended with a man pulling a gun just a few feet from the stage before getting stabbed to death by security. Then the important one, Manson and his family. Members went on an infamous killing spree, stabbing victims hundreds of times. They tasted one of their victims' blood, Sharon Tate. They jammed forks into their victims and then just ate dinner casually in the same room. This is how Bill Ayers, his wife, Bernadine Dorn, described the murders to members of the War Council of the Weather Underground at the time. Quote, "First they killed those pigs, and then they ate dinner in the room with them. Then they even shoved a fork into Pig Tate's stomach. Wild." Pig Tate was Sharon Tate. She was pregnant at the time. Now, this came 6 years into the hippie movement. Before that, remember, it was all peace and love. It was flowers in your gun. Man, all right. Hey, let's just get along, all right? Peace, love. Then came the violence. That came last. The truth of what this society was. And those people, when they took the mask off, it so shocked the American people that they said, enough of this. And that was the end of it. Now, here's a couple of things I want you to consider. I don't know if that kind of behavior shocks the American people anymore. Does it? I mean, we see it all the time. And here's the second thing. Please consider this. We don't have any flower children now. When this thing starts to go, it's going to go a lot faster to darkness because nobody's putting flowers in the ends of guns. We're starting at man's inhumanity to man. In fact, we're already there. This is the direction we're heading right now. We were there last fall, But it's worse. Remember, I said each incarnation, it will get much worse. Last fall, it was rapes that they were trying to cover up. Now, murders and brutal beatings in the streets, and nobody seems to care.